Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a frankly fascinating policy document, the National Disaster Resilience and Recovery Proposal for the Maldives. We're going to unpack this incredibly ambitious blueprint, which is really designed to completely transform the Maldives from a highly vulnerable island nation into a global model of absolute rapid self-sufficiency.
Here's how we're going to break this all down today. We'll start with the impact of the 2004 tsunami, then look at the progress made and the remaining flaws. After that, we'll get into the pillars of survival, followed by the pillars of recovery, and finally, wrap up with their implementation roadmap. All right, let's jump right into part one, the terrifying, inciting incident that forced this massive rethink.
62%. Just let that number sink in for a second. That staggering figure represents the economic loss of the Maldives' entire GDP caused by the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Imagine your nation's economic output literally being more than halved overnight. It instantly established the absolute catastrophic stakes of national disasters for an archipelago nation. It proved, without a doubt, that a single event can just erase decades of economic progress in a matter of hours.
And of course, there's a horrific human cost behind that economic number. 69 islands were severely affected, over 15,000 people were violently displaced, and 4,000 homes were completely destroyed. But you know what the most chilling reality of all this is? At the time, the country had absolutely zero early warning systems, no rescue databases. They didn't even have a national disaster authority. They were completely flying blind.
That brings us to Section 2, the progress they've made since, and the massive flaws that still need fixing.
Now, the Maldives has definitely made incredible progress since 2004, but some pretty terrifying blind spots remain. Yes, they successfully built the National Disaster Management Authority, deployed sea ambulances, and expanded their telecommunications. But here's the catch. There is still no unified rescue database. Transport is highly fragmented, and critically, telecom redundancy isn't guaranteed. So if a major outage happened tomorrow, entire islands could instantly be isolated all over again. And this actually builds into much deeper systemic risks. Sure, coastal protection and digital compensation systems exist today. But if a massive storm hit right now, the Maldives simply lacks the food and fuel reserves needed for a multi-week disruption. Economic recovery is agonizingly slow, which leaves the nation super dependent on external aid. And honestly, it's kind of incredible, but there is still no standardized Build Back Better framework in place. So, how do they fix this? Let's move to Section 3. The pillars of survival. To tackle those exact vulnerabilities, the master plan introduces a really bold survival system. What's brilliant here is how it directly solves the deadliest failures of 2004. Those overwhelmed medical teams, replaced by a unified real-time rescue database. Isolated islands, they get a weather-adaptive emergency transport network. The dreaded communication collapse is solved with guaranteed telecom continuity. And massive food and water shortages are countered by a strict national security framework. It's all about making sure people stay alive in those critical first 30 days. Digging a little deeper into Pillars 1 and 2, you can see how this strategy is meant to completely eliminate the chaos of the past. Pillar 1 isn't just some static list. It's an active, real-time dashboard mapping literally every medical asset in the country. We're talking oxygen, blood supplies, sea ambulances, and even drones. Then Pillar 2 creates pre-designated emergency ferry routes for every single atoll, backed up by emergency barges. The ultimate goal is simple: no island is ever unreachable. Next up, Pillars 3 and 5 are really about keeping the lights on and keeping people fed. Think about the panic when your home Wi-Fi drops for an hour. Now imagine a complete national blackout. Pillar 3 prevents that nightmare with guaranteed telecom continuity using pre-positioned satellite kits and radios on every atoll. For sustenance, Pillar 5 mandates a massive 30-day national buffer stock of essentials like rice, flour, and fuel, plus emergency desalination units stationed right on the islands themselves.
Okay, so you've survived the initial hit. Now what? Section 4. The pillars of recovery.
Pillars 4 and 6 are what ensure families and businesses actually survive economically in the aftermath. Instead of waiting around for slow, uncoordinated physical aid like in the past, Pillar 4 introduces rapid digital relief. We're talking instant cash transfers sent directly to mobile money accounts paired with a solid disaster insurance program. Meanwhile, Pillar 6 is the economic engine. It offers fast-track reopening frameworks for resorts, temporary tax relief, and emergency credit lines to get the economy back up and running in weeks, not months. To round out the recovery phase, Pillars 7 and 8 systematize the actual physical rebuilding of society. Pillar 7 enforces strict Build Back Better standards, utilizing standardized digital damage assessments, so that when infrastructure is rebuilt, it's actually rebuilt stronger.
And simultaneously, Pillar 8 ensures that everyday life doesn't just completely halt. They're planning temporary learning centers so no child loses access to their education. And they've got rapid employment programs and reconstruction to get people back to work right away.
Which brings us to our final section. Section 5, the implementation roadmap. How do you actually pull this off?
Well, they aren't trying to do everything all at once. They've outlined a highly organized, strict 3-phase roadmap. Phase 1 happens basically immediately. The first 12 months are all about the agile deployment of those medical databases, the transport routes, and the satellite kits. Phase 2 spans years 1 to 3, and that focuses on the heavier stuff, like expanding physical stockpiles and island depots. Finally, Phase 3 takes us up to year 7, tackling the really big structural shifts, rolling out full resilient infrastructure and that national disaster insurance system.
Ultimately, when you look at this entire master plan, it takes the devastating lessons of 2004 and transforms them into 5 definitive promises for the Maldivian people. No island is left isolated, no family is left without support, no business collapses unnecessarily, no child loses access to education, and no community waits months for recovery. It's a complete paradigm shift, moving from reactive, scattered aid to proactive, true self-sufficiency.
The plan is incredibly clear, the structure is brilliant, and honestly, the need is absolutely undeniable. But I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. We live in an era of rapidly accelerating climate threats. Can the Maldives race against the clock to fully implement this massive lifesaver before the next major disaster inevitably tests their shores? It really all comes down to execution now, and the stakes literally couldn't be higher. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.